Hi everybody, welcome back to Nellie Ruth Designs. I thought today we might have some fun with a surreal collage. Been wanting to make one for a while, and I've had a few different pieces out. I'll show you what I have been looking at, and I just can't put anything together yet. But I did find one image out of a Norman Rockwell book, and I thought we could have fun with that. So I'd love to have you stick around, especially if you're interested in surreal collages. I think this will be fun. It's really kind of not anything like woohoo, you know, out of the ordinary or whatever, but it'll be surreal. But these pictures here I took from some magazines, and I really like them. And I was playing with this today, still haven't figured out what I want to do with that. This one here, I think this is really cool. I have an idea, but I can't find the right images or add-ons. And then I have this one here, which I think is very cool. And again, I have some thoughts in my mind, but I guess I'm not ready for that. So one thing that I said I wanted to do was try to use my Extraordinary Things to Cut Out and Collage by Maria Rivans. I gotta just fix my pillow here behind my back on my gaming chair. And I have started to use some of them, and there are so many images in here. It's a shame that, you know, they're just kind of sitting here. So I made a vow that I would like to try to use images in here when I do surreal collage art. So the images, the small images that I took out of this did come out of that book. And you can buy that book on Amazon if you are so interested. Now, my lighting here today is kind of, I'm going to get some not shadows, but bright spots up on here because the paper is kind of shiny. So I'm hoping that, because when I play with it like this, and I reel it around my desk, I am going to get some lighting on here. So hopefully I won't get too much bright lights on here. Let me show you what I have. Now this is called Crackers in Bed. And again, it's a Norman Rockwell original oil painting, 1921. And it is a young lad in his bed. His dog is curled up here. He's got his shoes down here. And this is his box of saltines. And he's sitting reading in bed. And you can see his shade is pulled up. This here looks like maybe a sword that he has tucked behind his picture there. This is a... oh, what do they call these? A butler? Do they call these a butler? Or it could be a chair. It looks like he's got a jacket thrown on the back there. It's kind of dark. But I thought that this would work out really well. And the reason I picked this was because of the window. All right. And I had an idea for here. So I started with the window. And I know sometimes it's hard when you do surreal collage art, where to start, how to start. I guess maybe you would pick one spot. Going back to this picture over here, I kind of go where my eye takes me, and my eye keeps taking me on this part where her hair has been made into a bow. So when I want to do a surreal collage on here, I may just cut her out, take this part off, but I would be focusing on her hair, okay? This one here, I would be focusing on the water and the mask, because obviously I would want to do something with the sea or the water. And then this one here, I want to focus on their faces. And again, I keep looking at this and nothing is really coming to me yet, but I would want to focus on their faces. So that's kind of how I start and how I decide I'm going to do a collage, a surreal collage. So the pieces that I have cut out, and I may have to do a little bit more cutting on this, but I cut out these dogs. And again, all of these images came out of this book right here, okay? So I cut out these St. Bernards here, and then I cut out a snake plant, all right? And I cut out another plant. This is going to be, you know, fairly simple. I cut out another leafy type tree, and then I cut this head out here of this animal. I'm not sure exactly what that animal is. I have an a vintage style radio, all right, and I have this giraffe, okay. So when I started this, the first thing I wanted to do, I knew I had this image, and I thought of the window, because, you know, boys like animals. They just, when you're a young lad, you think about animals, and I don't know, you know, I know they did back when, back in my day. Now they think about video games. So what I'm going to do first is, I know I want to have this giraffe coming in through his window. And I'm not sure if exactly where I'm going to want it. I do know I'm going to have to cut this bottom part right here, because I am going to be putting some of these this is the top of the windowsill. So I'm going to cut above this line right here to keep that. I think that's supposed to be just kind of like a reflection. I'm going to come up and around this part of the blanket here, because I'm going to have to tuck. I've got these plants. I'm going to have to tuck these down in behind here. So and I have an idea where I'm going to want to put this snake plant, and I want this to come up the side of here. So I have to figure out how. Let me take this out of here, this white. I have to think about that for a minute, because there's curtains there that are involved. And I hope everybody is doing well. I haven't been in the creative mode lately with work and everything that's going on there. So I'm sorry I haven't been around for you. I actually took 3 days off last week, and I went to visit my best friend for 3 days. I had to get away. I had to get out of Dodge. All right, so I have this cut out here. Let's just trim this little bit of white up. Get this out. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So, and when you do surreal collage art, you just kind of have to play around with it, especially if you're tucking behind items and you're trying to get a certain look. So we have this here, and I'm going to be tucking this. I don't want that pot to show, but I think I may have to bring this over a little bit more, but I don't want to do that just yet. I don't know how far over, like I said, I want this to go. I have a feeling I want to have this lining right up with this. So I may have to go a little bit more, but we'll see. And I don't care what anybody says. There is a lot of thought process that I think goes into surreal collage art. And you just have to play with it. Especially before you get it all glued down. And again, I think I'm going to want this over here like that, but I'm going to have to cut a little bit more because I don't want that at an angle. And then this is where the giraffe comes in, because I want him peeking in through this window. But again, I am going to want to, I need to cut this here. I'm going to start down here first. I don't know how far up I have to go. And I'm going to come a little bit more over here. I'm just wondering. There we go. All right, that's a little bit better right there. I want these to overlap because that's how bushes and trees and such grow, right? And then the giraffe. I want him at an angle like that. So there's my, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that window scene. So I'm going to have to use glue for this. And the only thing I'm going to do, just want to make sure that this, let me just test my glue. All right, I had to change my tip, but I'm going to just put a little dab of glue right here to hold that in place. And I'm going to start down here at the bottom because I do like this where it's placed. So we're going to go right here, and I have to bring this up like that. And I don't know if I put a little bit of glue there. Here. And a lot of times I will glue this down and then I go back just for purposes, you know, for the video. I will modify it and do a better job gluing, because I don't like to rush the gluing process. And especially on shiny paper like this, you know, your magazine or book pages, sometimes they're just that's a little too messy for me there, but so we'll get this glued down. Okay. Okay. I just spot dab that down just so that holds there. So that's good. And you don't ever want to try to get your glue too close, especially if it's a dark area, too close to your subject here, gluing it down, because you don't want to make a mess on your area there. Okay, so I have my window. I have my window done. Okay, and then I'm going to work on the boy here. I'm going to keep this mat here because I do have to do a little bit more cutting. So I wanted to replace his head here. I mean, I could just keep that, but that wouldn't really make it all that surreal, would it? So I cut this animal out, and I'm just going to clean it up with my X-Acto knife. And if you don't have an X-Acto knife, I like this one right here. It's a Fiskars, and I like the grip. I like everything about it. And we are going to clean this out of here. Okay, so now we have this head, and I want to put this in place of the boy here, all right? So I had cut out a couple others that I was originally going to use. I cut this out here. I'm not sure what that is. It's like a wolf style, and I cut this one out here. But I will show you why I did not use those. So this here, I just want to cut around his shirt or his pajamas right in this area. And hopefully this will fit down in there. I may have to cut a little bit more out. And yes, I will. You don't want to make that big of a cut when you start. You want to take baby steps. This is a little bit wider, so I will show you. I cut this one out first. This one should fit. And I thought this would be really cool. However, you can see the boys, if I raise this up to take care of the head, you can see here, you can see the boy's lips, even though his hair is all taken care of over here. If you bring it down further, it doesn't look like there's much of a neck. But again, you can see the outline of his hair right there. So I decided I didn't want to use that one. Whoops. This one here I thought would be cool to use. And again, I'd have to cut this a little bit, but once I got it down in here, the way I want it angled, again, you would be able to see the top of his head. So that's why I really liked both of those, but that's why it didn't work. This one I know will work, but again, I just have to figure out and I think I'm going to have to come up over here and by the lamp. I don't want to go any more this way to the left of his pajamas. So I think this will work just fine here like this. And the reason I leave this little bit of extra on the bottom is so if I have to raise it up, but this doesn't look like I will have to. I can. And it would still give me room with the boy. All right, so I think that is good just like that. So I'm going to get this positioned. And I'm wondering if I should take a little bit of this off right here, because that would be part of the pillow. So I think what I'm going to have to do, we'll get this back in. And that's why the surreal art is really fun to do, but you just have to also be aware of the positioning of things. So I'm going to take just a little tiny pencil, and I'm going to kind of come around and see if I can take just that little tiny bit off there. Now I may ruin this by doing that. I'm going to try this and see where I'm at with this. All right, and that seemed to work. That seemed to work just fine. So now I can see a little bit more of the back pillow. And the collar there blends in a little bit better. And I'm just going to put some glue here. And that will just hold that in place like that. There. Okay. So now we have him hanging out in bed reading his book. All right. And then the last thing, oh no, not the last thing. I have this little radio. I'd like to have this radio, I thought maybe possibly on the windowsill here. Because every boy should have a radio in his room. And I would like to tuck this behind his blanket a little bit because he's got his leg up. So I'm just going to do a little cut there, just so this corner can fit in here. Oops. Guess I didn't get that. Let's get this right here again. There we go. All right. So if I have this here like this, I'm going to do it like this. It's all about under and over, and I want that there. There, I like that right there. So again, I'm going to, I'll put that right about there. And I will just tuck a little tiny bit of glue under there. Just to kind of hold that. There, so now we have the radio. All right, and then the last things to add are the two St. Bernards. And I'm just wondering if I want to have one of the St. Bernards kind of tucked behind here, which I think I do. And I'm just going to take some of this off here. All right, and then but I kind of like it like this as well, where they're just in the room with him. So I think I could have it like that. I'm just going to take a piece of dark, or actually a piece of white paper here, white trim that I cut off. And I want to see what that would look like if I tucked it behind there. And I think I will tuck it behind there. I think that has a better appearance than having both of the dogs in the photo. So I just need to and this is, I think for me, this is going to be tricky because I want to get it right on that edge there. I don't want any white showing, and if I have the dogs, I don't want the brown of the paper showing as well. So let's see if how I did this here. Okay, and that's good. I'm just going to cut this a little bit higher here, just a tad. Just to bring that dog up just a little bit, yeah, like that. Even if I have it like that, where part of his foot is showing just a little tiny bit. I like that because it just kind of breaks the line. So I'm going to have that like that. And you just have to be careful with the glue, like I said, on the shiny paper, because you don't want it to, sometimes it will get, I don't want to say wavy, or, but it will get wavy. And I take an envelope or another piece of paper to put over it so I don't catch anything. I mean, it'd be very easy. I could do it on here, but then I would catch a leg or a paw or something. Okay. All right. So I think that is it. That is our Surreal Collage. I'll come down just a little tiny bit. That is our Surreal Collage for this time around, and I really like it. I like the animal factor in it. I just think it's very cool, and I will, like I said, I will go back afterwards and I will do little dabs of glue here and there. You don't need to watch me do that. But yeah, I think this is a lot of fun with the animals, with the giraffe coming through. And then this is obviously some sort of, I don't want to say ram. I'm not sure what that is. But he takes on this persona. And then we have the dogs. We have the dog on the bed. The little radio on the windowsill. And he's all set to sit there and eat his crackers in bed. So that is it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this collage. I did. I think it came out a lot of fun. It was fun to do. It was fun to try to piece it together, find the right images to go. And yeah, I think it's another job well done. So if you enjoyed this Surreal Collage and video, I would love to have you give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And again, I really love it when people comment and they start Surreal Collaging. And I always try to give you little tips and tricks and different things to look out for, and you know, where to cut and how things can just kind of blend together. I will always do that when I create a Surreal Collage. So I do hope you enjoy that, and I hope it helps you when I do that for you to kind of get your mind wrapped around what you want to work with. So that's it for today, my friends. Again, I would love to have you give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you're new to my channel, I would love to have you subscribe. Thank you to all of my regular subscribers who follow me on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And I will see you in my next video. All right, everybody, have a great day. Bye-bye.